calls and welcome to the team. Here we are with Marty and Rebecca Gagnon today. We're going to have a great show. Today's the March 13th, the eve of the Ides of March.
I was going to say 2 days before the Ides of March.
Yes, so beware of the Ides of March, but the 13th is a great day. I think we're getting all recovered from our daylight savings time. I finally woke up this morning without having the alarm go off.
Oh, I'm
so
still missing my hour.
Oh, boy.
Big time missing
So
my
let's
hour.
go with local events, Marty.
Well, we have some fun local events, music-related local events this weekend. Jan and Mike Sheehy, the Milk House Heaters, who have provided some of our intro music, will be playing out at Phelps Barn, which is out in Grafton at the Grafton Tavern on Friday night. It starts at 7 o'clock. And then you can shake your tail feather, which is pretty much Mike's favorite thing to do, on Saturday at Wunderbar, because it's another edition of their Wundergroove. And that starts at 9:30 and goes till they close. And then everybody should mark their calendars because for drum roll please, next Friday, the 22nd, Shona Grill.
Oh, yeah.
Back.
Yeah.
She's going to be at the American Legion this time. She's starting serving at 5, and she'll sell till she's sold out. She's going to have her bacon cheddar burgers, her amazing Shona fries, and maple mayo.
Yeah. I did the one at the high school. That was really good.
I missed the one at the high school. so
It
I'm
really
looking
reminded
forward
me
to
how
this
much
one.
I miss the Shona Grill.
I
It's
know.
really.
It's a little teaser, a little taste of Shona Grill.
And is the benefit again for the Europe trip?
I am not positive what it is a benefit, but I'm not positive what the benefit is for. I couldn't discern that from the Facebook page.
Great. So
Maybe I
that's
just missed it, but it is a benefit.
so there's some local events. Rebecca, welcome.
Thank you for
Good
having
to
us.
see you. We got to see you last week at town meeting when everybody was discussing the current and what was
Sure.
going on and how things are going.
It was fun.
How long have you been at the current?
I came on as part of a management team through Deerfield Valley Transit, the mover.
Oh, okay.
And that was in 2013. So in 2013, we came in as a management company, and we ran the current for a year. And then we decided to talk about merging the two organizations, the mover and the current. And by 2015, we were merged as one organization called Southeast Vermont Transit, Inc. We still have some autonomy. We still have the current. We still have the mover, which is the spots over in Wilmington, the cow spot
Okay.
buses.
Yeah.
And then our swish with the current. So I've been there since 2013, but way early on when Town and Village Bus went out of business, we came on as a consulting company and helped create the current. So we were running the service interim until the current formed for about 4 or 5 months.
That's great.
And I live right here, I'm local. So,
Yeah.
it's-
I mean, I
it's in my
think
blood.
that actually makes it more special. I
Yeah.
think that you have a more of a connection to what's
Absolutely.
going on. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, your service area is basically from White River, right, all the way down to the southern border.
Right, where all of Wyndham County and southern Windsor County. So we have to incorporate the mover over in the Deerfield Valley area as well. They're a free
okay.
bus service. But we run transportation in Brattleboro all the way up to Dartmouth on fixed route, and then over to Okemo. And then from there, you can transfer at Okemo to go to Rutland.
Oh, really? So you
pretty
can
much-
basically go all across the state,
Right,
basically. If
right.
you,
And then we're over in Walpole and Dartmouth College, the hospital, the VA. So we're pretty broad reach on fixed route service.
Yeah, I was reading that yesterday. I didn't realize you had some definite dedicated route buses, which must make it great for like the VA Express for folks, not just gentlemen, but folks going up to the veterans.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then we have a contract with the VA for people to utilize our volunteer pool of drivers if they can't make the fixed route towns.
oh, okay, yeah.
They call the VA, and then we'll send out a volunteer driver to take them wherever they need to go at whatever time if they're going to the VA, which is great. And that's a big service that I think a lot of people in the area don't know about.
Yeah, because I think people see the buses and think, well, there's the bus company, but then,
Yeah.
but there's a whole, and
Oh,
probably even much, I'm sure it has to be much more complex to run, is the idea of these volunteer point-to-point specific rides so people can get to doctor's appointments and all those things that they need to do.
Well, we have the fixed route bus service, which is on our website, and it's all mapped out. And you can even go on the website and type in where you are and where you need to go, and it'll tell you what route to take.
Oh, nice.
But transit's confusing. You know, what line, what time, and, you know, things like that. So it can be confusing. They can always call and ask. We're also going to have an app pretty soon through Google Transit or Swiftly, where people can just download the app and then see when the next bus arrives, which is
nice.
really cool.
That would
It's
be
going to be a
really-
statewide program.
that's
We're
what-
hopefully going to roll that out in the next couple of months.
Really? That's
So
really
really
that's
excited
high
about
tech.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it'll also identify rail and Uber and Lyft and things like that. So it'll be all incorporated there. But one of the programs that we have is the elderly and disabled transportation services. And people can take 3 rides a month anywhere they need to go for medical appointments. So they call the office, we can either put them on a van or in a volunteer car or a personal vehicle, I should
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
The volunteer is reimbursed mileage.
Right.
But they can go anywhere 25 miles outside of Wyndham and Windsor County for
Oh,
a
even
doctor's appointment.
yeah.
Greenfield, Keene, further up into Lebanon and things like that. And then, of course, Brattleboro and Bellows Falls. We have a lot of people that come here to the drop-in center, actually.
Yeah. Well, I know
and
it's-
that's for elderly and disabled people. You know, elderly now is 60 years old.
How did that happen? That's young.
The elderly.
And then, you know, it's a really easy process to get on board, and that's supported by the state of Vermont with our grants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a great program.
So if someone is in need of that service, what are their steps to?
They just call us, give us a call at the office, give us the information, you know, what's your age and what's your disability, or do you have a disability? They can say yes, and you're in. It's really easy.
They don't have to
not-
like prove.
There's no
anything.
proof, there's no doctor's note or anything like that. And then if you need cancer or dialysis treatment, dialysis is 2 times a week, and then cancer is 3 times a week. So we'll get you to your appointment every single week whenever you need to go.
That's a great service.
7 days a week. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter
yeah.
if it's Saturday or Sunday, because we do have some dialysis clients that go early Saturday morning.
Wow.
And then your medical trips 3 times a month. We're trying to increase that to more like 4 times a month, wherever you need to go, and we're trying to increase the dialysis and cancer trips. So we're kind of making some changes. We also have transportation to the adult day programs in
Right.
Springfield and Brattleboro and the senior center, and then shopping and meal trips.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Now, are all of those also volunteer drivers? Or?
Some are volunteer and some are van, depending on how many people
How many- what
are
the
going.
volume is, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that really is essential for a lot of people to be able to get to where they need to be, because transportation, especially for the elderly and people who are disabled, is probably the biggest factor in getting things in Vermont. I mean, it's just, there's no way to do it without the current.
Well, I find that it could be a generational thing, but people don't want to ask for help. So they don't call, you know, they don't want to call us. They feel like they're a burden, and that's what we do. That's who we are, you know. So you wouldn't have to maybe, you know, utilize someone in your family that is still working or
Right, yeah,
something
yeah.
like that. So we really need to change the persona
Sort of
of
that
please call us, because
mindset.
this is our livelihood, and this is what we're charged to do through the state of Vermont and our grants. So the other problem is we find that a lot of people just don't know. We're out there, we have a big billboard with the buses, but they really don't understand all the programs that we have. So we're trying to open that.
And
that
how
avenue
open
of
it is. I
information.
mean,
Yeah,
it's been years, but when I used to work, I lived in Bellows Falls and I worked in Brattleboro. There was a time when my car broke down, and I ended up riding the Current, and it was just the best thing, because I was able to get to work, I was able to get back from work, and it wasn't like I needed to, it made that possible for me. And I don't know if people think about that a lot.
no, or when it's storming.
Yeah.
I mean, we are, you know, that's when we're most vital. People leave their cars at home and hop on the bus. You know, you'll see the park and rides along 91, because we stop at every park and ride to go up to Dartmouth, and they're full. They get to the park and ride, then they get on the bus. They don't have to deal with driving in the snow.
That's a good safety, and
Yeah.
reduces your stress level in that winter driving. yeah.
Absolutely. I have employees that work in Brattleboro that live in Westminster. She says, I always use you during snowstorms.
Yeah.
You know, I just hop on the bus, leave my car at home. It's
Yeah.
$1.
Yeah.
You know, it's
yeah.
really cheap transportation, and that's a real popular route from the one that goes from Bellows Falls down to Brattleboro.
I
A couple
bet.
times in the morning, a couple
Yeah.
times in the afternoon.
Because it's just, yeah. And I know people that go just for all sorts of reasons, but I don't think people who are like, don't think of it as, like I guess people who live in the city, like if you lived in New York, you get the bus,
Right?
but we don't think of that.
Well, I think also with the dedicated Dartmouth, there's a lot of folks that, I mean, Dartmouth Hitchcock is a great employer.
Mm-hmm.
But I think prohibitively, if you were looking, and you might think, oh, I don't want to make that, I don't want to make that
Yeah,
commute
it's
every
an
day,
hour
drive
every
all
day.
the mileage on my car, and then you can just hop on the bus. And
Yeah.
when you're on the bus, that can be like decompression time. It can be time to read. It can be, you can have that at like that 45 minutes to yourself.
That's exactly what they do. You get on, they're all on the tablets
Mhm.
or, sleeping.
I'll bet, yeah.
They're napping. And then to get up there and try and find parking. If you've not seen the traffic jams up there
Oh,
now,
Oh, I
Yeah,
can
it's
imagine.
it's, you're waiting in a traffic jam for 20, 40 minutes.
Mhm.
So, and then trying to find a parking space. And it's, it's like a huge university. It takes you forever to get from point A to point B walking. So you've got the bus that drops you right off at the front door or the east entrance or, so it's a great service for the Dartmouth area.
And, for
yeah,
that
for-
and the
for people
Okemo
that-
area
yeah.
in the winter, because I know that a lot of people, Okemo's another good employer, it's seasonal, but a lot of kids and people who, maybe not, I shouldn't say the word kids, but people who are younger, who may not have reliable transportation on their own, can get up to Okemo from Bellows Falls or from even Brattleboro, I imagine, and it's makes it possible for them to work these seasonal jobs,
And it's free.
and it's free.
And it's free, and we have two routes that go to Okemo, the 57 that runs year-round, Monday through Friday, and then the 61 that is just for the seasonal. And every year, we reconstruct that route to tweak the employee work times, pretty much, because that's mostly, it's less of a skier bus.
Yeah.
It's more
Well,
of
it's
an
really an
employee
employee
bus now.
yeah, I bet.
And we hit Bells Falls, Springfield, Chester, and all the way up through to Cavendish. And I know quite a few people that utilized it that are up there working. So we tweak that, however, the mountain needs us to tweak it for the season to get people to work.
Nice.
So it's
So if a skier does one, you're piquing my interest now. If a skier did
Absolutely.
want to take it, where you just put you can just take your skis
yeah,
on
well,
board?
with the mover, we have ski racks right on the back.
Wow,
So if we
okay.
ever got to the point where we had a lot of skiers, and what I would like to encourage is we have so many, I'm getting off track, Airbnbs in
Yeah,
Bells
yeah,
Falls.
that's not
You
off
can
track.
promote that, if
Yeah.
you're a family
Oh, that's a great
and
idea,
you
you're
came
right.
in with, a couple 14-year-old kids and mom and dad didn't want to leave, get
Yeah,
up and
yeah.
go, they could put the kids right on the bus.
And they can go
and
to
they go
Okemo,
point
they
A to
catch it, and
point
they come back.
Right. We go down
Yeah.
Green Street, School Street, Atkinson Street, so, that's another
Yeah, I
way that we
didn't
should
realize that,
probably
but that
start
is a
pushing
great,
that, promoting it, yeah.
a good promotion,
Yeah.
because, that would really make this a
That'd be
place that
nice.
people could come and then.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's a good hour trip.
Yeah, but say
you know.
you didn't say you lived in New York and you didn't have a car because you could take the train from New York to Bellows Falls,
Absolutely.
then take the bus to the. It's possible. It
You
makes
can
it
do it,
doable. Yeah, that's
It
really
is.
neat.
It's
I like
something,
that.
it's something to promote.
Yeah, it is.
For
It
our,
would be.
our local hotels and motels and Airbnbs and B&Bs and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, because there are more Airbnbs popping up. And,
Yeah.
they'd kind of waned back, it used to be bed and breakfast, just the small inns, and those kind of waned around here, and they're now coming back as the Airbnbs. And that used to be one of the highlights of winter business for inns was the ski traffic. And so that is a good way, because I don't think people think about that.
No.
Yeah.
No, and I think about it as, I remember when my son was old enough to really go to the mountain on his own, just not have to drive him was great. Just hop on the bus. And then
Yes.
that gave him some independence too. So,
That's a great, wonderful idea.
How do you get your volunteer drivers? Are you in need of volunteer
I am.
drivers?
So how volunteer drivers work, it's pretty much Monday through Friday work. And you're typically taking one of our clients to Dartmouth or Brattleboro or locally in town for a medical appointment, and you're reimbursed mileage. So the mileage rate is 58 cents right now. And it's tax deferred. So let's say you're retired or you're getting disability, it will not impact your income. at
Oh,
all.
really?
Right.
'Cause
So it's
Basically a trade, it's
it's
like a
it's
reimbursement for
it's a
your money
reimbursement.
you've spent out.
yeah. And so we do have a lot of people that are retired or collecting disability that use it as a supplemental income.
Oh, neat,
And,
yeah.
you know, we're talking.
Are there any special requirements that you have to have in order to be a volunteer, or?
We do background checks,
Mhm.
adult protective, child protective, DMV.
Well, all those
and
things
criminal
make
background
sense,
checks,
yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. To make sure that the person's a safe,
And then, of course,
driver.
you have to have, you know, a vehicle that's insured and, you know, inspectable and clean and neat, so.
you guys are picky.
But we are. We used to have 70 volunteers, and then we stopped doing the Medicaid transportation. So we're at about 15, and then I have my
Oh, boy,
snowbirds that take off for the winter.
Oh, and they come
And then
back
a
in the
couple of,
summer?
yeah, so I'm down to 8, so I would love to see people maybe become a little bit more interested and think about doing some transportation
Yeah,
on those lines.
so they
to
would
make a lot extra
contact
money.
you on
current.
at the current
Mhm.
and with the telephone number so that everybody would know, you know, that if you were interested in giving back to the community or maybe
Making
making
some
a little
money.
money on the
Yeah.
side, that you could do that, and
Yep.
it just is a matter of driving people around.
Mhm.
And it doesn't necessarily mean you're that committed. I mean, it's a per diem thing, right? It's sort of like,
Right, if
they'll
you
call
need-
you if you're doing your own medical appointment, or you have
Yep.
something else, you can just set
Mhm.
you set your own schedule basically.
Right, and if you also, there's a hardship program that if you happen to be driving a family member
Mhm.
that needs to go like 200 miles on average a month, you
Oh,
can actually
really?
be reimbursed as a hardship driver, and that's half.
Well, that's an interesting
So if
thing
you
too.
are taking a family member already for medical appointments, for whatever that is, come see us, and then you can be reimbursed through hardship.
Boy, that would help a
that.
lot of people out.
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
because there's a lot of folks that, like, if you have to do chemo treatments and you have to go constantly, and
Right.
families bringing you, it gets to be really daunting, I
Yes.
think, for the family, because the person can't transport themselves oftentimes.
No.
They're
No.
not,
No.
they're not feeling good,
Right,
so.
right, and then that could be a way for other people to kind of branch into our services, and
Mhm.
maybe some family members or some people might be willing to take our volunteer transportation.
Right,
So,
right.
they're
They could
trained-
actually give
trained and
themselves some
vetted.
respite if they
Yep.
were to do this, and then
Mhm.
maybe use your service sometimes when they, you know,
Mm-hmm.
however that works. But yeah,
Yeah, it's a
Yes,
really
that's
good
a great, I
program.
didn't realize you had that extensive a service.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people probably don't.
They don't, but they don't. So we've really, during the transition 13 up through 19, we really focused on making changes
Mhm.
within the current and the system. So we've kind of slacked off a little bit on who we are and what we do and community outreach. So
Mhm.
we're starting to change that. Because
Yeah,
you're right, a lot
yeah.
of people just don't understand what's available to them.
And you were mentioning before, we were talking about Facebook, is that one of the best ways for people to kind of stay current on what's happening at the current?
Absolutely.
Current at
We're,
the current.
I know, I couldn't
Come on.
resist.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're posting updates all the time on Facebook. We did have to change our page for reasons that, you know, the employees leave and it's tied to an employee, and so we've had to revamp it, and we lost all our fan base that way. So it's really,
So people should
It's-
probably look for the current
we look for the
Facebook
current
page.
Facebook page.
And it's if you look at the current, it'll come up as.
I'm hoping so, yeah, it should,
Okay.
it should, and then
So-
just like it or friend us, because we had some really good feedback when we had, over 1,000 followers.
Right,
And
right.
it was pivotal, and we'll post weather information and updates about services and public hearings and changes in the system.
So if you're out on Facebook land and you're watching us and you're saying, well, what can I do? One of the things you could do right now is look up the current page, like it, and then invite your friends to
Friends
like
like
it.
it, yeah.
And then, that doesn't cost you anything. You can help out the community, and you can increase the fan base and increase people looking, and actually get the word out that there's a lot of stuff that these people are doing that you could take advantage of. Yeah, so look for the current
Please.
Facebook page.
Yeah.
And
please
share
do
it.
that.
And then you were also, one of the things that you were talking about that I think is a good thing for people to know how vital the current is you were talking about that you're an emergency station. Should there be
Yes.
Like a disaster
disaster.
shelter
So the
idea?
town has a local emergency operations plan, and we're in that. And so part of what our facility, I think, was always originally thought of when we started building it was that it would be an EOC, like an Emergency Operations Center. So especially the time when we had VY, if ever Brattleboro had to move further north.
I remember that, right.
So, they would have a command center that they could operate out of. And we've always just kept, steering the building and the system, the organization towards that. When we did the Park and Ride addition, that the town owns the Park and Ride up there at 706, we also had funds to put in a fuel farm. And in doing so, we put in an actual generator, that's
backup
it's huge.
generator.
Yeah, it's a really big backup generator. So the fuel station and the building will always be supported if there's ever an emergency where everyone loses their power, right? And I'm talking, like I said at the meeting, a large local emergency
local
situation,
event
New
that would-
England, or that would put everyone out. So the facility is set up to run with lights and power, and has a seating capacity of 100 in one of our driver conference rooms. It's really set up as an operational center. Everything will work. You can get fuel, washing, things like that. So I think that's one thing that the community didn't realize, that was a building that was designed for that and could be used for that in case of an emergency situation.
I sort of remember back, way back when they were just building it, that they were saying that was going to happen. But then when you brought it up at town meeting, it was like, oh yeah, and that's operational now. That's like, if something happened this afternoon,
Right.
you guys would be available to be able to be of assistance.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure I'm not sure that there has to be some sort of rules about how you would get fuel and everything else, but that would be dealt with at the time.
We'd get, if the town was in a situation where they needed fuel, and we'd just, we'd get it to them and deal with all the
All the other
ramifications
stuff later.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, and those are 10,000 gallon fuel tanks, so a piece.
Wow.
So gas and diesel. So you've just got to keep the generator going, right?
Yeah.
Keep that fueled a little bit.
And there was,
so,
I sort of remember back that there was like even a little comm center, emergency center set up so that the police and fire department could work from there too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know how that would work if we lost power throughout New England. How how the internet would work or anything like that.
Yeah.
But definitely.
Well, I'm sure it would be radios
Yep.
and things like that, but
Right.
yeah.
Go back to old school.
Yeah.
Right. And we've held quite a few little community events there, meetings and things like that for local businesses that have large employees that needed to bring them in at once, like Chroma. And I think we've had a couple of town kind of meetings around the sheriff, when the sheriff wanted to
Right,
do
when the
them.
sheriff was
We
trying
had-
to, the
we
correction.
opened up
Yeah.
some services there. And actually, after town meeting, the country store contacted us and said, listen, we're supposed to have an emergency plan if we have an active shooter. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
At the
Well,
Vermont
yeah.
Country Store, can we utilize your buses and your facility if that happens? So absolutely.
It's a sad situation, but
Yeah.
that's the reality
Yeah.
we're in right now, and that you guys could do things like that would be,
Right.
it's just really great. It's
Because I think
convenient.
what brought the whole discussion up was that were going to the town, because the town is one of the non-for-profits that we're getting low on time.
Oh, sorry.
That asks for funding, and I think a lot of people think, well, why would the current need funding? But the current is vital to this area.
Right, and we get funding from 31 other towns. So and it's really about buy-in. Does the town value and appreciate the service, and does the town want to support us? And 31 of them do. So
Yeah, well,
it's great, and we're really grateful that the town of Rockingham voted for that funding, and we do pay taxes. Our taxes are almost 11,000, and our water is almost 11,000. So we're not an agency that doesn't pay our way to.
Yeah.
Great.
all
Well,
kinds of
Rebecca, we've managed to use up
Yeah,
all our
well,
time
I
again.
know,
I would
totally.
like to invite you to come back and talk about some of the specific programs, because
That'd be
I
great.
learned a lot today, and just
It's a lot to
things
take
that,
on.
yeah, it is. There's so many different levels that I think it would be good if we could come back and talk about some of the, maybe specifically about some of the volunteer programs or the
Yeah.
medical programs
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I
see
would
how
like
that
that.
would work. Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
And that's it for the feed this
for the
week,
feed. We made
and
it
we'll
through
see you
another one.
next week. We made it through it. Bye, Bellows Falls.
That's it, folks, for the feed. Be sure to catch us every Wednesdays at 7:30 a.m. Also, find us on Facebook at Fact TV, or tell us what you think. thefeed8@gmail.com. And don't forget to watch the feed online at www.fact8.com.